Hey everyone, and welcome back to Building on 16. I'm Jason, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over how I got my first paying job with my sawmill and what I've learned from that. All right, well, let's start off by how I even got this first paying job. And that is, I ended up selling a piece of equipment, a smaller tractor that I had, and I upgraded to the larger tractor. Well, telling the guy the story and telling him why I upgraded, and that's because I had a sawmill, he was very intrigued because he had some down trees and he also had a neighbor that had some down trees. Now his neighbor makes furniture, I guess, as a hobby, and he wanted some slabs that he could work with. He has some unique hickory, and that's pretty cool. So he asked me what I would charge to saw up some lumber. I have no idea because I've never done a paying job. So then that started the whole avalanche of research on what you should do when pricing out or charging someone to mill lumber. So behind me are the pile of logs that they dropped off, and there are actually 3 different species here. One is a white oak, which is pretty typical in our area. The other one's a hickory, and it's called a shagbark hickory, which I haven't seen too many of, but I guess they're around our area. And the other one is black walnut, which there's quite a few around here, but still a very valuable wood. Walnut's very valuable. So with that being said, I have to be very careful with doing this project because I only have hours under my belt, not hundreds of hours. So I have to ask very detailed questions on what he's looking for to make sure that, one, it's not out of my skill level, my range of what I can do on my sawmill. But luckily he's just looking for some live edge slabs. He was looking for 5/4, and that, which again, for those of us who are kind of new at this, 5/4 is 1 1/4 thickness, and that's all things you need to research and look into as you start doing this for customers. And that's what I did. But he just wants these slabs at that thickness, so it makes it pretty easy for me. I don't have to do any special techniques with cutting this, and I can just run him through because that's what he was looking for. So that's the first thing, is finding out what your customer is looking for to make sure that you have the skill level to make sure that that turns out the way they're looking for it. All right, so here's one of the logs on the sawmill, and just a little bit about the sawmill here. This is the Woodland Mills HM 130 Max, and the log is roughly 14 to 15 inches in diameter, so it's going to fit perfectly on this mill. Also, a log this size is not going to be very heavy. It's going to be easy to turn over. Some of the bigger white oak logs that I've had on this machine, they're heavy, and as you've seen, I had to use the tractor and the grapple to flip that over, because this machine, which is a great machine for what it is and what the cost of it is, but it's very manual. Everything about this machine is manual. There's nothing to help you turn the logs. There's nothing to help you run the machine down the log. It's all manual. So with that being said, still a perfectly capable machine for doing logs like this and making cuts like this. So let's get this sawmill fired up and make some first few cuts on that log there. All right, just got done making my first pass with the slab here, and that's what I was saying. This is that shagbark hickory. That is very pretty, very pretty. He showed me some pictures of furniture he made, and it's amazing once it's finished. But I like to double check, and that looks pretty spot on to 5/4, which again is 1 1/4. I have a little more than 8 inches left in that cant there, and so I'll finish making my 7 or 8 more cuts depending on what I can get out of it, and then we'll move on to the next one. But very important to keep an eye on your measurements. Again, I have the scale up there, but where it's manual, I like to double check just so I don't continue to get off a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch every time. And before you know it, you're way off from what your customer wanted. So keep an eye on your measurements, and it's better to take your time and double check every measurement than to rush through it and not have what you're looking for. All right, so the next thing you're gonna have to do after you get done cutting your logs is find a good flat place to let them set, to dry, essentially to store. And what I did is I had some scrap lumber laying around, and I know this is only going to be temporary because the guy that wants these slabs, he's going to be coming to pick them up pretty quickly, so they're not going to sit here for a long time. If they did, you would probably want to put them underneath something like that to keep them covered and to make sure they get good airflow. But some of the important things here is a good solid base. This is probably an overkill, but it's what I had, so I did. I cut some what are called stickers, usually 1 inch by 1 inch, and lay them in between the boards. Over here you can get a better shot of it. So I got a couple rows going on there and working on my 3rd row, but you want to have airflow and some space between them so they can dry and stay flat. But a lot of things to learn, especially when you're doing it for a paying customer. These are all things that I've been working on as I've been using my sawmill as a hobby, now using it to make money. You need to really step up the game and make sure you have all these systems in place. Something I'm still working on. What I've realized is you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but you've got to learn from them, and that's where I'm at. And hopefully I'll continue to learn and continue to make this even better and easier process for me when I'm out here using my sawmill. All right, so before I throw another log on the mill, I want to encourage anybody who may be new to our channel to think about subscribing, leaving us a comment. We try to put out videos based on projects we do here on our property, the sawmill, cutting and splitting firewood, but generally anything that has to do with our property. We have about 16 acres here, and we're in the upstate of South Carolina. So if those things seem interesting to you, again, think about subscribing and follow along. It would really help out our channel. Well, I'm gonna sit here and take a break for a minute because it's hot. We have already reached the 80s here in South Carolina, and we're in the first part of April. But anyways, I'm gonna go over the last thing that I've learned while getting my first paying milling job, and that is pricing. So the research that I did ranged from 30 cents to 80 cents per board foot. And again, you have to do that calculation. So, and essentially that's the thickness, the width, and the length divided by 144. All right, you probably want to look that up so you can understand it a little bit more, but that's how I understand it. So this also is probably where you're going to make any mistakes, or the most amount of mistakes is pricing, whether you price it too low and you get all the work, or you price it too high and wondering why nobody wants to use you to mill their logs. So the range that I found, I picked slap in the middle of it. And They also say that you may charge a little bit more for thicker boards. You may charge more for different types of wood as well. So there are all kinds of things to learn. So again, if you have any knowledge in this, please drop me a comment below. I'd love to learn more about this myself. But I'm just trying to share what I've learned so far doing my first paying job on the sawmill. So again, there's a range. You also may want to charge for a blade, especially if one gets damaged with one of the logs that you're cutting. If there's a nail or something in there, you may want to charge for that. You may want to charge if it's a lot of logs, because you're definitely going to go through a blade then. And they're not cheap. They range probably around $30 on average. So pricing is one of the biggest things that I learned. Again, you probably want to do your own research in your area, but I picked in the middle of our range from what I found on the internet. So I hope that helps. And you know, again, I've learned a lot, and I hope to learn a lot more about doing milling work for customers who are willing to pay. It seems like it's really enjoyable, and it seems like it's something that I want to move forward with. So again, if you have any helpful comments, please drop them below. That's going to about wrap up this video. So think about subscribing to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, and we'll see you on the next one.